Right, welcome to the Working Wellbeings podcast, live from the water cooler, 2025. So I don't know why that came across as really sincere, overly formal. So Lauren, right?
Lauren, yes, Lauren Lunniss.
This is our first time meeting.
First time meeting, we've messaged, emailed, but first time in the flesh.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do you work? What do you do?
So I'm the Health and Wellbeing Lead at BNP Paribas, predominantly the investment banking side of things, but I also support our other 4,000 employees up and down the country, which sit under the umbrella of BNP Paribas.
Nice one, nice one. So take me right back. Where did this journey into wellbeing leadership begin?
Wow, okay. So
where did you go to school? No.
So I actually started off as a personal trainer, believe it or not. Yeah, I came out of doing my A-levels in PE, psychology and drama.
Yeah.
I went straight into my personal training and sports masseuse course. And then from there worked in a couple of gyms and then thought, you know what, let's go travelling.
Okay.
So I ended up going travelling with my partner, who's still my partner now. We were 19 years of age and ended up living in New Zealand for nearly 5 years, running gyms out there, feeling like a massive fish in a small pond because everyone came to the one and only gym in the main town. Okay. They knew me, they trained with me, they used to work in the restaurants and I used to get them fit and they used to get me fat by feeding me or giving me drinks. So yeah, it was fantastic. And then thought, missing home. New Zealand's a long way away. Decided to come home. And that's when I got my first taste of corporate wellbeing. So, you know, I applied for this role, which was for Nuffield Health, thinking I was going to turn up to a gym, expecting to turn up to a gym. I looked at this building and I was like, this doesn't look like a gym. And as I went in, I was absolutely gobsmacked and amazed by the offering that these employees were able to access within the building that they work. On-site gym, doctor, health screening, physio, all there. They can access during working hours. It's encouraged. And I thought, this is wonderful. This is amazing. Like, this is the future. So I've been in corporate wellbeing now for...
So were you in an internal role at the field?
Yes.
Looking after, right.
Looking after the employees of a Japanese bank. So I've only ever had corporate experience within financial institutions. I worked for a Japanese bank, supporting their employees, and then...
I've got you. So it was like Nuffield were outsourced to look after the wellbeing, right?
Exactly. Okay. They were the provider on site, the contractor, delivering the wellbeing program, wellbeing offering. It was very connected. And then I moved over to BNP Paribas. So 8 years ago now. I went from being a hybrid role where I looked after the on-site facilities from an operational standpoint, but then also worked with HR from a strategy standpoint, making sure I had the relationship with the ERGs, with CSR, with L&D, to essentially embed wellbeing within the workplace. And then 2023, moved full-time into the HR strategy piece. So I'm really homing in on key areas of well-being that I guess you would associate with well-being, the exercise, the nutrition, which are fundamental, but it's also the impact of things like life events, or like menopause or neurodiversity, and how as an employer you can best support your employees to thrive. So that's where I am now. Nice.
So how did the job role differ from when you were at Nuffield in almost like a outsourced role, as it were, as to an internal role? Is there a difference or?
No, actually, other than obviously who I work for, there was no real difference because the aim as a contractor is to be seen as part of the business that you're working for. Absolutely, to be sticky within that environment, because it's important, I guess, as a contract for Nuffield to keep it, to embed ourselves, to make sure we embrace the vision, the mission, the culture of that business, and adapt the wellbeing around it. So the actual shift between going from the hybrid role into the full-time HR role was actually quite easy. It's quite seamless. The only hard thing was to stop being so hands-on and delegate to those that would implement the logistics and the operation, and be more strategic and proactive in my approach rather than reactive.
Yeah, because you can't possibly look after 4,000.
Can't do everything. No.
4,000.
There's 4,000 employees in CIB. Yeah.
So there's no way you can look after every single one on your own.
That was probably the biggest challenge facing me in that change of role.
Okay. So what are you most proud of? What have been your biggest successes, either in your current role or previously?
My biggest successes, so I've just done a session on holistic approach to preventative well-being. And I guess it's ensuring that you create this journey for the employees. So no matter where they come into this journey from, would be it an injury, so they need to see someone for MSK, or be it to do with the life cycle events I mentioned, they need to go for fertility treatment. It's creating that journey to allow that to be as easy as possible, whilst also providing a pathway, a clear pathway, so the employee knows exactly what's next and what other things are there to support them once they've got over that initial obstacle. And I think we're doing a really good job of that at BNP Paribas, and the message is being conveyed not only from our position in HR, but also from our advocates, our wellbeing champions. We've got representation in every single department now, and we're seeing more and more of those what you'd call disengaged employees actually engaging, because their colleagues are the advocates for that department, and they are organising initiatives and support and spreading the word around wellbeing. So we're seeing a positive shift in people's behaviour to access the support available.
Got you. So you said you've always worked in the finance sector, financial services sector. So every sector that I work in, every industry tells me that they're unique, and you've never worked in an organisation like this. What's unique about your current organisation or the sector more generally when it comes to pressures or whatever it may be?
I guess if you compare it to other companies, take for instance how we can engage our employees. They are predominantly desk-based, so it's, I guess, easier to communicate. Any initiatives, any benefits, any support through things like email or digital screens, etc. So if we're comparing it to maybe companies that have those that are desk-based but also field-based, you could say we have it easier, or you could say that maybe that gives us more challenges because of email fatigue. So finding inventive ways to engage people in different methods. I have to say it, budgets, so investment banking, they typically have higher budgets. So it's being mindful that it's not all about providing the biggest spend and looking for the best product ever on the market. Sometimes it's also the simple, cost-effective approaches that can make the most impact. So that's why it's important that I come to these events, that I mingle and network with people from different industries to, I guess, make sure that my line is unparalleled rather than just tunnel visioned on what I do, because I do completely appreciate that in a way I'm in a privileged position, because investment banks can offer the creme de la creme, but it's not always necessarily the best option. So there's multiple.
That's interesting.
Multiple ways that you can.
That's an interesting insight, isn't it? Because I'm sure there's plenty of NHS trusts that would be sat there like, I'd like to have that. I'd like to have the option, but
they've had something equally, that impactful, and it's barely cost them anything. So by taking those experiences, could it be adapted into the workplace to have just as much of an impact? rather than just offering the best of the best at high cost.
I got you. Okay.
I like to bring myself back down to earth. I think it's important.
Yeah. So I've asked you about the best bits. So what have you messed up? What have you messed up? Or let me put it in a more positive way. If you could go back and speak to a younger version of yourself and give yourself some advice, what would that, knowing what you know now about well-being leadership, what does that...
Put me on the spot.
Is there anything you wish you'd known, sort of thing, that you've...
Well, to be honest, I think most people would probably say this, that have been in the industry for a while. It's, if I had known the direction well-being would be going in the workplace, especially since the pandemic,
right,
the way it's exploded across workplaces, I would have best prepared myself to understand, I guess, more of the taboo topics in order to support those within our workplace. Not to say I think we're doing a really good job.
Yeah.
But being more prepared.
Right.
For that explosion, to talk about menopause and how best to integrate that in your workplace, being a male-dominant workforce, or neurodiversity. We're almost working backwards now.
Catch up.
Right,
so it's almost like the pandemic kind of opened Pandora's box with some of these issues.
It absolutely did. Not only for the employers, but also for the providers. So we were one of the early adopters to offer neurodiversity diagnostics via private medical. Not only for the employee, but their partners and also their children. So that was the first thing we offered. It's the diagnostics, the service, but there was nothing else in place in terms of infrastructure for the employees once they received that diagnosis. Okay, they've got the diagnosis, they've been given a treatment plan, I guess, for ADHD and medication, but what about in the workplace? So we're working backwards now with the training, with the reasonable adjustments, with the accessibility tools, and we're coming up against, these obstacles that I guess we should have foreseen. But then again, neurodiversity has just been thrown in to the mix and had heightened visibility through celebrities that are talking about the diagnosis. So it's like the chicken and the egg.
Yes,
it would have been great in hindsight to understand and make sure that, I guess, the basics were in place from a structural point of view before offering the diagnostics pathway. But then we also didn't know how it was going to be portrayed and elevated externally. And that's what we tend to find, that we're ahead of the curve in one respect for what we can offer. But once it hits the media, all of a sudden everyone's wanting to engage in that particular topic. The same happened with menopause. And, Davina McCall and Lorraine Kelly coming forwards. Fortunately, we had some sort of support in place, but that only escalated once the media started bringing it to the forefront.
That's interesting. And I guess an additional risk to that is you're playing then catch up, potentially, just you, but like everyone in the industry is playing catch up. But then when you see these huge waves, these huge, in certain around certain topics, the risk is that sometimes it almost swings too far, or it becomes unpalatable for people. You've only got to look at what's happened to DEI in America, and all that sort of thing, that it starts to swing back, and then you've got a really difficult decision. Well, we've been playing catch up, and do we carry on at the same trajectory that we've been at, or do we now rethink it?
And whilst not neglecting, I guess, the key pillars of well-being in terms of physical, mental, social and financial, whilst not neglecting those, whilst also stretching resources in this particular area of well-being, That's the risk, isn't it? Yes, it's that balance. It's that fine balance.
It's almost like take your eye off the ball. We focus so much time and energy trying to understand neurodiversity because it's confusing and it's new. And then you forget that there's some simple thing related to people's weight or fitness or movement in the workplace that you were taking for granted, but actually you find out people aren't moving all day.
Exactly.
And neurodiverse or not, that's going to cause you a huge health problem.
And then throw in there a senior leader that says, we want to cover this, and you're trying to keep everyone happy. whilst also making sure you're sticking to your plan, your program, what you want to achieve out of wellbeing, what looks successful for your employees based on the plan that you put forwards on the results from last year. So it keeps me on my toes, but I absolutely love it.
You do?
I love the way it's evolved.
Yeah.
I love the way that I've gone from just, I guess, focusing around the physical element of well-being, being a personal trainer, to all these other areas of well-being that have some sort of knock-on effects to one another in the pillars. It just fascinates me, absolutely fascinates me.
Yeah.
It could also be my psychology background as well.
And are you happy sitting in HR? Because that's one of the questions that we've asked to previous guests is, where do they think wellbeing should sit? Is it occupational health? Is it health and safety? Is it a dedicated functional on its own? Is it HR, DEI? I understand why I sit within HR, and the team I work with are the benefits team. I sit with OH. I also sit with departments like the early careers team and the L&D team, which wellbeing will cross over in. Absolutely.
But maybe I shouldn't call myself this. I see myself as a floater, basically. Maybe not a good choice of words. But I see myself as a floater because I guess the reason why Paribas have kept me and evolved this role is because they've seen how I've been able to cross-network outside of HR. So your corporate social responsibility, your ERGs, your networks on site, the brand and comms team, I've worked very closely with them to ensure we've got, I guess, the best communication strategy for wellbeing, and we're seeing that positive impact. Like we fell in the top 5 last year for the type of information that our employees want to receive via email. Wellbeing was in the top 5, and that's below business news, down things like pensions and benefits. But we were in that top 5 out of 15 categories, and that to us demonstrates that what we are delivering is relevant, and it's what the audience want to see. It's amazing how well-being can positively impact. Like the culture is so open. There's people sharing their stories, and real personal, deep stories, and just being able to support that and showcase that and see others come forwards. That's where you know that something big's changing culturally. So we're in a good place, and I'm very happy with what has been achieved. Obviously there's always room for improvement. So what are your challenges? What's the next 5 years look like? 3 years maybe? 5 years is a long time. Still converting the unconverted. There's still a population that for one reason or another, be that they definitely feel like they can't step away from their desk. Obviously, we've got traders who pretty much have to be at their desk 14 hours of the day. How can we engage them to better their well-being? Ideally, through their managers, to, I guess, set the precedents that, prioritising your health is key. But also, I guess, also making sure that we have a huge tip from the reactive utilisation through to the proactive utilisation of our services, because you can offer the best benefits in the world, but if your employees aren't accessing them, one, there's no point. If they're only accessing them when it's in crises, it's gone too far.
Late.
So by trying to change that behaviour of the employee, hopefully you can see more long-term, more longevity within their health, within their productivity, within their happiness, and wanting to, your attrition, wanting to stay within the company, because you can see how much they support your well-being, how important it is, by not only supporting you as the employee, but also supporting you as a whole. So we look at things like, so one of our principles is supporting family members where possible as well. Because with all the will in the world, if something's going on at home, it's going to affect you in some way, shape or form. So if you're able to ensure that some benefits are available for spouses, for children, in some cases your own parents, that is only going to benefit the employee, but also the business. So it's just seeing how it all, this web is just spun, and it's huge and it's interlinked and it's crazy, and it's just making sure that it's as smooth as possible for the employee. Because you're almost hand-holding them, especially when they're most vulnerable. So I love it, and I love hearing the success stories. So it's
I can tell.
It's really close to my heart. Really close to my heart.
Nice one. Well, look, kind of penultimate question I wanted to ask was, and this came from a community actually, because you're a member of the Working Well community, right?
Yes, I am.
So this is one of the questions that came from the community, was around how you think as a wellbeing leader you can advance your own development.
Very good question. Very good question. And I think the trickiest thing is there is no guidance, there is no set benchmark as the expectation, there's no set structure. Each company delivers well-being, or it falls under different departments. So some of them are more health and safety led, some of them are just an add-on to a HRBP role or something. So it's difficult. I think for me, I actually want to go back and study. Study different elements that would complement what I'm doing, from psychology in the workplace through to lifestyle coaching and interventions, and just broaden outside of what I already know the potential of what can be brought in from wellbeing. So I think for me it would be that additional study, but that has its own challenges because there's so many courses out there. So many courses. What's the right one for you, for the direction you want to go, especially if you're not entirely sure what direction you want to go in?
Where to start,
or what's available. If you actually ask a majority of people here, which you probably have done, how did you get into your career, how did you get to this position, most of them have been carved out. These positions have been created based around the individual delivering it. So what does that mean when you want to enter a different landscape? Like I said, I've only been in financial institutions, but it'll be great for me to apply what I know in another industry. But how would I move across? That's interesting. I probably wouldn't get a look in. Because my experience is on financial. So
there's a challenge for the listeners,
exactly.
For the world of workplace wellbeing, and for the community as well. I guess that's the sort of thing we're trying to answer is, could we, because we want to co-create these things. We don't want it to be Matt sitting in a dark room or a pod working out what it needs to be for people. It's more like, can we co-create that with the community? So that was what
is needed, what is necessary.
That was the mission. That was the mission. That is the mission. We've still got the mission. We've still got the mission. Nice one. Okay. Well, look, where can people find you if you want them to find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I think there's only one Lauren Lunniss, so look me up on LinkedIn, or you can email me. It's my name at uk.bnpparibas.com.
You're going to regret that.
It's a long one.
You're going to regret that.
Just remember, Lunniss is 2 N's, 2 S's.
Okay, nice one. Are you here tomorrow at the event? Or?
I'm not, unfortunately. No, I've got a lot on, and then a massive event next week, so very busy.
An internal event?
We've got Christine McGuinness coming in. And that's where we're doing the link between neurodiversity and mental health awareness week. So she'll be sharing her own personal journey, also raising 3 autistic children, and her resilience pre, during and post diagnosis. So it's going to be a really, really good session.
Interesting.
It's fantastic.
Cool. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us in the podcast. Lovely to meet you in person for the first time after so many back and forths on email and whatnot. But lovely to speak to you. And
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Enjoy the rest of your week.
Too. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to the podcast. This episode is brought to you by Wellhub, the corporate wellness platform transforming how companies care for their teams with a single subscription. Get an exclusive free trial using the link in the description below.